Once the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC, came a full stream quite some 2 decades ago, for many Nigerians and indeed others across the world, it was a time to say, well, let's cut corruption down to its barest. 20 plus years down the line, the question remains as to whether or not corruption has been mitigated in this country. From one administration to another, the mantra has always been essentially to stave off the impact of corruption. So bad it is that at one point this country had been referred to as an entity that was fantastically corrupt. But did that spur us into action in terms of doubling down on this monster that has eaten into institutional fabrics in this country? Plus, to what extent do laws, no matter how effective they may be, help to mitigate grafts, whether in public or the private sector? That's the thrust of our conversation. On the program today, we will unpack it for you one brick at a time. After the short break, please do stay with us. I'm Wiyag Mofwegwe, and this is how I welcome you to this week's edition of Scale of Justice here on Global Television. My guest is Prince Barrister Idris Mohammed Waziri. He is a lawyer, apparently, a president, United Tribes of Nigeria, as well as founder, the Fiscal and Civic Rights Enlightenment Foundation. Time will fail us to run through the other aspects of his profile. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Prince Waziri, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like us to begin with the place of laws. I mean, when you have legislation, you have a sort of legal framework around the fight against corruption, which is the case with Nigeria, apparently. But how would you rate us on a scale of 10?
Nigeria?
Right. From a legal standpoint, in terms of our fight against corruption.
I don't want to talk about Nigeria, I'm sorry. If we're talking about people, you just said something that we were labeled fantastically corrupt. By who? The
British.
Thank you. If we're talking about the British labeling us fantastically corrupt, let me give you an example, right? You have the same British government, right, having come colonized us, right, forced us into this thing called Nigeria, right? I am from the north, you're from where, sorry?
From the south.
No, obviously, clearly, but we're from in the south. Again, we should stop running from the north and south. I'm a northerner, but I'm not Hausa. I am a Bobole from Yobe State. But the southerner, like you, will say we are all Hausa. You understand? When President Trump is saying, oh, there's Christian genocide, he's dropping bombs in the northeast, or he's about to drop bombs in the northeast. They are not going to distinguish between the Borno Muslim and the Christian Muslim.
Flat.
You know what I mean? So if we're talking about corruption, let us leave Nigeria first. Let us talk about global corruption, because that is where there's fantastically corrupt issues going on. Do you know what I mean? So before you label me, how about you? Do you know what I mean? So British, you now came, you did whatever you did, then you now went and created laws that shield you from me or my people seeking redress. Is that not the ultimate level of corruption? You go come slap somebody, then you will say, hey, you cannot complain. That's corruption. Corruption is what's going on in America right now, the Epstein files. There are huge, important, powerful people that are indicted in that thing or implicated in that thing. America right now, that is the hot topic on ground. But you want to leave that one, right? And come and tell us there's problem to be solved here. There's problem to be solved in Colombia. Go and solve your problem in America first, you understand? Right now, you are facing a threat on unimaginable proportions. You know what that threat is? It's not coming from Russia. It's not coming from the Middle East. It's coming from within. Your country is torn apart. Your economy is in tatters. People are sleeping on the streets. They are coming here to do holier than thou. Calm down. Let's talk. If we're going to talk about corruption, let's talk about global corruption. Let's talk about the inequality, the inhumanity about global international laws. You talked about laws.
Right.
The laws are there to protect those that cannot protect themselves, right? Right? They are there to make a society functional, right? There is no function when I feel like, these laws are skewed to protect the people. So let's come back to Nigeria and your initial question. How do I rate Nigerian anti-corruption fight? As far as I'm concerned, it's non-existent. It's there in name, it's there in show, but there is nothing. In Nigeria, the anti-corruption fight is one thing. Steal as much as you can, so that when the EFCCs and the rest come, you can negotiate, this is what I'll give back, pre-bargain, Abi.
But it's pre-bargain in itself. I mean, you are a lawyer.
It's allowed.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that you are encouraging filthy,
on account of pre-bargain.
Fantastical corruption. Because now what you have told me is, if I'm going to steal from this agency that I've been appointed, well, let me steal like there's no tomorrow. So that when government comes, because I know they are going to come, like I said, the agency exists. So they will do their investigation, they will come to my door. But when they come, I know that this amount that they're going to say, give back to government, the remaining will remain. In my lifetime of working, and I'll never amass that. So what does that tell you? I'll give you another example of corruption that we see every single day, but there is no enforcement. You see, enforcement of the law is very important.
Right.
You go to every checkpoint in the country, irrespective of whether it's north, south, east, or west, you will see a long line of about 80 to 90% of good Nigerians, right, following the line. Because there is authority. I can see the soldier or I can see the policeman in front. But then you see about 10% of us, mostly these drivers, taxi drivers that apply in
the commercial guys.
Commercial drivers. They're coming to pass. So you're expecting that no be soldier there. When he get there, he will make them do frog job. But nothing happens. They pass. So after a while, I started questioning my own sanity. Well, am I the stupid one for being here? Because in my country, apparently, there is no enforcement. The laws exist. There is no enforcement. There is no consequence for beating and making me sit down and wait for 2 hours. Whereas you have gone about your business, you're about your day. What that in essence tells anybody that's right thinking is, well, we're living in a lawless country. We have laws, but they're not being enforced. So the answer to your question is, our corruption fight is zero because there's pretty much zero enforcement of the laws that do exist.
One time, Obama was in West Africa. While he was in Ghana, of course, he was the president at the time of the United States, and he said Africa no longer needs as much strong men as it needs very desperately strong institutions. And there are people who also argue from a very ideological perspective that you can't have strong institutions if you do not have strong men who are forward-thinking in their leadership style. How do we marry both?
Well, first and foremost, let's correct you again. Strong men. We live in a world today where you have to add strong men and women. Right? So let's be clear about that. And me, I'm all about the women.
But was it really gender specific when he said that? I'm sure it was generically talking about human beings.
Yeah, we live in a different time.
Right.
When that was said, or when that came up with, it was a time when, yes, men were in charge of the world. Today, we're shifting to a different dynamic, right? Like I said, me personally, I do believe if we're going to come up about how do you fix a society, it isn't through corruption and all these other things. They are byproducts of a failed system. You know what I mean? If you fix the system, everything else comes in line. Like I said, if you just put enforcement into already what the system exists now, it's just failing or failed should be exact the word for it. So if you fix the system by enforcing the laws that exist, we're done. We go from where we are now to where we're supposed to be instantaneously. Do you understand? We live in a society where the abnormal has become normal. You understand? Corrupt people walk around with their heads held high. I'll give you a good example so that you know that corruption can come close to you. You understand? I knew someone for 26 years. This person today is in EFCC for over 400 and something million people. EFCC took 2 years to investigate this person, right? But this person is going around oblivious of the fact that he has caused so many people so much pain. In fact, he sees himself as the victim. Do you understand? There are widows that have put their children's life savings into your business that has for 5 years disappeared. 5 years now, nobody has seen their money. In total, in excess of about 650 million naira or thereabouts. The only thing that EFCC is after him, what they catch, because people like me have withdrawn my petition. Because me, I've chosen to follow what in the Quran they will give you Moses' law, eye for an eye. They'll give you Jesus' law, give it to God, turn the other cheek, and then they'll say, choose whichever one you choose.
So which one have you chosen?
I chose turn the other cheek, my brother. But the guy, like I said, it's either I'm sending that person to prison or I'm sending him to a mental institution, because it's one of the two. Do you understand?
It can't be both.
It can't be both. You can't be on the streets anymore. I chose to leave you. There are those that went to EFCC. There are those that are crying. I know a woman that has anxiety issues. This thing has, you can't imagine the emotional trauma that this thing caused. You understand? I haven't spoken to my father for 5 years because of what this guy did. Yet this person goes around society as if na him be organ, na him be victim, na him be. How? It's only in a nonsense, upside down society.
So do you blame that on an agency like the EFCC or the entire system?
No, the EFCC, like I said, EFCC came in the office that day for 1 hour trying to convince me, why in God's name are you going to leave $96,000 of your father's money on the table? I'm like, because there is no man-made law, there is no man-made remedy that will atone for what this guy has done. Do you know what I mean? There is none. But when Jesus said, turn the other cheek and leave it to God, I mean, oh boy, on the day of judgment, an ounce will not be added on top of what I deserve, and an ounce will not be removed. I will get my due deserve. Do you understand? But here we are today. Like I said, we live in an abnormal society that has become normal. You have people that are stealing public. Look at privatization. I sent you the information.
Right.
This is something that, like I said, I am ready to challenge any senior advocate. Even the Attorney General has actually responded finally. And his question was, you have not identified what PDP and APC did. Right? And moreover, this is INEC chairman's issue. No problem. I wrote my letter deliberately that way, just to get your attention. And now that you have given me your attention, first thing I'm going to do is explain to you who you actually work for by way of the Constitution and your appointment. You work for the Nigerian people. You do not work for President Tinubu, who appointed you. So that we've got that clear as to who you serve. Now, this is the case that I have, and like I shared it with you, right? I'm not afraid. I'm sharing it with anybody. Let Atiku's camp see it. Let Tinubu's camp see it. The violation is clear. The precedent that INEC has set in terms of deregistering parties, that for the mere common thing of not winning seats, right? These corrupt parties, as big as they are, they won the seats, but they went there and they did privatization and they sold our Commonwealth, me and you. And they have sat down on it, like I said, abnormal becoming normal. Because why? The people have been subdued into mental slavery, into thinking these people in government, they are the organs at the top. They are
I'll tell you something about Mr. Waziri. I would have thought by now, we've spent quite a number of time, minutes talking about this issue. You have not mentioned the judiciary. There are people who strongly believe that you can't talk about corruption in Nigeria and how rotten, so to speak, the system has become in that regard without implicating or indicting the judiciary. Do you not share that view?
I absolutely 100% do. Because the judiciary is supposed, first and foremost, what is democracy? Democracy is founded upon some certain principles, the foundation of it, right? One of them is the separation of powers, a very key part of democracy, i.e. we have three independent, distinct arms of government: judiciary, executive, legislature, right? They are supposed to be checking each other so that one arm does not become a dictator onto the people, because you are here to serve the people, right? So now, we're in Nigeria since 1999. The executive, whoever wins president, is Oga of all. He is master of the the legislature and the judiciary. He dictates what happens. That is a failed democratic system. We are not practicing democracy. I keep saying it. What are the dividends of democracy? The dividends of democracy are representation of the people by a select few on behalf. That's why it's government of the people, by the people, for the people. There is the part of for the people is missing in our own. You understand? Yes, it is, they are Nigerians, they are from us, right? But the most important part of it, gone. Because everybody is there for their own selfish interest. Public servants, that public, they have dropped it to one side. Even the servant, they have dropped it to one side because they take they are lording mastership over us. Completely, like I said, upside down. Now we be the Oga. That guy, now he be your Oga. Mr. President, you are just the chief number one public servant. You are not special. Your office is, but you are not. So you people now used to wear babariga and agbada and think that you are. No, that is the first level of corruption right there. The next level of corruption is a lack of a free and fair electoral process. So President Trump is coming out there talking about invading us. don't invade us. There's no reason to invade us because first and foremost, like I said, if it's corruption, go and deal with the corruption in your own place right now. You right now have an issue to deal with. You have a case to answer that you are using corruption to douse. You understand? We're all seeing, we watch your talk shows, all of them, the comedians, Trevor Noah, everybody, what's his name? They're all talking about it. You understand? So it's not hidden. We are seeing corruption blatantly in front of us. Yet you want to come here and point, no. Allow us to fix ourselves, and we can fix ourselves. 2027 is around the corner, right? We want free and fair elections, and that free and fair begins with this case. INEC, PDP and APC cannot participate in the next 2027 elections. Why? Because you've already set the precedent for deregistering parties that have violated your laws. Your own laws or INEC laws, right? Which one is more important? Constitutional laws or your own INEC laws? Constitution, right? And since in this country, political parties are mere vehicles by which you can get elected. They're not based on ideology. The only ideological party in this country is PRP, a socialist party back from Aminu Kano days, which right now, guess what? INEC is also trying to deregister. For what? Because in 2023, they did not win a seat. So if I didn't win a seat and that's your basis for, you see, corruption, that's your basis for removing parties. It's like football match. Oh yeah, these ones cannot play. But the ones that have even done worse than these ones, those ones are allowed to play. In fact, what's going on right now with Tinubu is he's already campaigning.
From your commentary, so it's evident that corruption is now institutional in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So how do you deal with that magnitude of corruption in a country like this?
The people have to rise up. I'm not talking about revolution on the streets and blood. And the people have. That's why I have a movement called my movement is Awaken Movement. We need to wake up. As long as we wake up, there's no magic wand to it. It's just simply wake up and realize what that your PVC card means. We keep claiming we're educated, we keep claiming we're enlightened, we keep claiming we're exposed. Yet, we leave our political destinies to 30 million Nigerians that INEC says there are 90 million plus registered, right? But statistics show that 2015, 19, 2023, less than 30 million votes. And who are those 30 million? The ones in the local government who only have a PVC card so that, oh, this awoof that comes every 4 years from these politicians, me, I can go and get my 3 to 5,000 naira. 3 to 5,000 naira, that's what you have mortgaged your political future for because you feel, I can't enter son. These ones, I cannot go and vote for these ones. Yes, I agree with you. None of these 3 candidates, Atiku, Tinubu, and Obi, give us that. Look at what Trump is doing now. Nobody amongst the leadership of this country has had the guts to answer President Trump as a leader should answer Trump. But I don't want to see your troops in my country.
So do you think the response from President Bola Tinubu was knee-jerk reaction?
Knee-jerk reaction suggests that it happened spontaneously. It took almost like 2 weeks for President Tinubu to answer President Trump. So knee-jerk reaction is the wrong term or phrase for us to use here. What was his final answer? It wasn't, well, to be fair to him, actually, the answer was, it was okay-ish. Yeah, it was not as effective as a leader. A president of Nigeria, you are effectively a president of Africa in a way, do you understand? And yet, something like that is imminent because they went from talking to now there's action in Colombia or is it Venezuela? I can't remember one of those countries. Yeah, they have given him light, medium, and heavy options, military options for Nigeria. This thing is happening. It's just a question of when, not if. Do you understand? And yet, there's video of Senate President saying, hey, no, journalist said I answered President Trump. I didn't answer him. Do you understand? What is wrong if you answer him? He said...
But again, in this regard, what's our competitive advantage beyond sovereignty in Nigeria? I mean, how were we supposed to respond any better than what we have seen?
First and foremost, right? First and foremost, what the issue of you talking about my sovereign land, on what grounds, what basis, who gave you that right to discuss my matter? Like I said, go and deal with your own backyard. Your country is in tatters. You're one step away from a civil war again. So why are you leaving your own backyard to come and talk to me about my own? That's my first question. Next question is, under what basis are you here? Is it international law? Is it the UN? Because the UN right now, I'm looking at it, I'm wondering, is this thing a farce or is this thing actually real? Because what's going on in the Middle East right now with Palestinian, this Israel, a human global population cannot see that and remain quiet. That thing is wrong. Do you understand? I'm a scripture person. Yes, I know, biblically, you guys were there. But really, are you going to come today in modern times and just tell me, hey, this is your house, but away like 600 years ago, now my papa did here also, you guys just move. What is that in this day and age? And yet the UN exists? What was the UN created for? It was created to prevent something like what happened in World War II. The Germans, what they did to these same Israelites here. And we're repeating the same thing in 2025, and the world, the UN, seems limp. They seem impotent, because every time there's this sort of corruption, global corruption going on, the so-called body that's supposed to be the global administrator or educator, quiet, a small thing, America has vetoed, Israel has vetoed, that's it. Once those two countries veto, that's the end of anything that seems like there is human progress. Humanity is what we're talking about here. Not any selfish interest, not national interest, not continental interest, nothing like that. What is in the best interest of humanity, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's continent, whether it's global. If you put that as your foremost question and answer that, then you have a solution.
All right, let's take a quick break now. We'll have a few more minutes to go on this conversation, everyone. When we return, we'll look at something a bit more domestic for you. Do stay with us. All right, let's just pick it up from where we started from. Of course, we're talking about corruption in Nigeria. We have the procurement law in this country, which again has become more of an embarrassing situation for us, because from what the FCC has seen over the years, most of public corruption cases come from procurement processes. What's the challenge? Is it probably a case of the procurement laws needing a review, or is it just lack of will to enforce the legislation in itself?
It's all lack of political will. You know what I mean? Everybody would tell you Buhari was a good man. You understand? And when he came in 2015, everybody thought the Messiah finally has come to fix Nigeria. This was a sentiment that was shared.
But they say he did his best.
Again, I remember one film where Shokari goes, your best. You understand? What is your best? Okay, so we're supposed to be going like this, and you're going like this, right? So your best, as far as it is going in this direction, or what if you like be Usain Bolt and run as fast as Usain Bolt, your best is not good enough. In fact, it is a failure. Do you understand? I'd rather be crawling in this direction than sprinting in the wrong direction, which is what we've been doing. So, Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, is a pathetic story. Pathetic. If there was any word.
Is it hopeless?
Sorry?
Is it hopeless, the situation?
No. The people between 18 and 55 have a chance to change it in 2027. If we're going to repeat the same crop of politicians, these guys at the top, right? And I'm talking everybody above 55, right? Then we're not going to go. Then yes, the situation is and will always remain hopeless. There is no hope if these people are going to be allowed to stay here. Because again, why do we do exams? To test the candidates, Abi.
Right.
You have been tried and tested. They even put posters, tried and tested what? Failure? I don't understand. That's why I keep saying Nigerians, right? About 90% of our population needs to be institutionalized. We need to go and have our heads examined. Because like I said, you are watching nonsense happen in front of you, but you're okay to live in it, and you're okay to continue repeating the same thing, praying. That's why some big men will tell you, oh, prayer, that one a poor man, leave it to God, that's poor man's prayer. You see how arrogant the elite class in Nigeria has become. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I've seen infographic of a governor in one of the northeastern states, right, saying, the people are too poor to revolt. I've seen a minister, right, send a gloat about Pat Utomi having missed. He was trying to see the person where they run for governor. He don't even know where they do primaries. You understand? So corruption now, they go and hide and do primaries somewhere, and you wouldn't know. So you now, member of this administration, you are actually gloating that see the kind of underhand tactics, and you are proud to come and say that. Like I said, we already live in an abnormal society. That is why someone in government, someone who has the public trust, can gloat about the manipulation of the process like that to a group of people that are actually enlightened, exposed, and educated.
One of the biggest, as we wrap up now, forms of corruption in Nigeria today appears to be one that's associated with electoral process. And they say that election in Nigeria has become such that you cannot bank on INEC anymore to be the umpire as it ought to be. It is now the judiciary. And I've even heard lawyers like yourself say that it's always the judiciary that's on trial these days.
Again, coming back to the issue of the judiciary, the judiciary is supposed to be like the last bastion for the people, right, in terms of defending their rights, right? So where the Supreme Court, God knows when they pass this judgment, says that everything under Chapter 2 is non-justiciable, right? For 17 years, I've been studying this thing, trying to find one way to break this, what I consider as insanity. You're telling me that Section 14(2)(b), sovereignty belongs to the people. It's there in the Constitution, right? By whom this Constitution has been brought and by whom the government exists. Yet, the government, by virtue of one of those three arms we mentioned earlier, has now said, you know what, to protect, just like the British government did, we are committing atrocities here, let us protect ourselves. How do we do that? Judiciary, just make this thing non-justiciable. Nobody can talk about it. So again, I will slap you and I'll tell you you can't do anything about it for something that you own. You see, that is, it doesn't make, there's no sense to that whatsoever. So that is in itself a complete insult to what we hold dear, which is because the only reason why me and you are sitting and talking about Nigeria is that document called the Constitution. That's what binds me to you and I, right? If not, there's no business between me and the North and you in the South. Our ways of life are different. Our faiths are the same, but the way we have been told makes you feel like me and you are different. I told you earlier, in my book, that verse of kill them, whatever, yes, bad people would lift that one and show you. But they will forget the part where it said, yes, so there's the eye for an eye. But there's the Jesus part. They will always leave the Jesus part out. They will always say, Muslims, they are this, that because of this. Oh yeah, me, I don't tire out. If it is like that, when I carry my bookies, where could they go now? Do you understand? It's not, we live in a federal system. So there is zero problem with me going to Yobe in 2027 and declaring Yobe an Islamic state of Yobe and declaring 14 core northern states in Nigeria as the Islamic Republic of African States, and then from there start plugging in Burkina Faso, Mali, and the entire northern hemisphere of West Africa, and now saying we are aligning with MENA, which is the Middle East North Africa Alliance or whatever. Do you understand? We're still in Nigeria. We're not like Biafra saying we want to go. We're here, but we're not following your economic model. We're going to follow a socialist model, which is what I am. I'm a socialist politician. We're going to follow a socialist model, which, by the way, is exactly the Islamic model. But we're here. But I'm tired of being told, Abuki, I'm tired of being told I don't belong here. I'm tired of being told I am the problem of this country. No, there's no problem here. I'm very, very okay.
Again, that's in the very, strikes in the very heart of at the very heart of politics in Nigeria today, which is a discussion we will need to have on a more elaborate scale. Looking at 2027 elections, the real issues that the people are concerned about beyond the optics that we see with politicians these days. I'd like to say a big thank you to you.
Thank you very much.
Prince Barrister IDRIS Mohammed Waziri, who has been able to share very valuable insight with us regarding corruption in Nigeria and the systemic factors that drive this monster. A big thank you to you for watching. On behalf of my colleagues who have made this broadcast possible, I'm Muyi Agmofwegwe. Our broadcast here on Global Television continues.